what we hope to do today is we'll give you a little history of the area. We'll go some of the truth and then some of my embellishments a little bit. Fact versus fiction.
You're going to let us know which is which, or?
At the end of the walk.
It's hard to tell the difference sometimes.
But all good stuff. And we'll, if you survive this part of it, there's a little trail here about a quarter of a mile, and there's a bench. There's a whole story with the bench, and then we're going to plan to, and if the weather holds off, we're going to plan to go to the Union Street Woodlands, which is kind of on our way back home or back to the center of town. And from here, it's maybe a half mile. Union Street, we'll call it Brooks-Tilden Shipyard is the official name of it. A lot of people will say, oh yeah, Union Street Bridge right before you go. Yeah, okay, that too. This area, people use it now, the North and South River watershed. They have the Great North River, Great Canoe or Kayak Race. Great River Race, yeah. If I'm missing something or saying the wrong thing and you know the right piece, shout it out, because we're all better editors than we are authors, you know. So when I was growing up here in Marshfield, the big thing was to jump off the bridge. It's still a big thing, I think, for a bunch of kids. And if you had a picture perfect day, there'd probably be 7 or 8 of them jumping off the bridge. I did it once, that was enough. No need to do it again. On the other side of the bridge is a put-in in Norwell. So Norwell's on the other side. There's a marina there, slip to put in your boat. And again, back in the day, back in the 70s, it was a great place for if you wanted to get rid of your car, or someone wanted to get rid of your car for you.
You're smiling. Did you do that? Oh no! I heard about it.
You would let the car go down into the river. So when you were jumping off the bridge, you had to make sure you were doing at high tide instead of low tide. You had to have people on this side and the other side to make sure you didn't see any boats going back and forth under the bridge. So it was quite the operation. And then every so often there'd be tow trucks that would come and check out vehicles that had cast away. So that was a big operation. Warren Harrington, so this area was about 15 acres, give or take, that the town bought in 1977. Warren Harrington was the first conservation administrator for the town. A guy that I'm more impressed with what he did as I get older. And he was a single guy, you know, army of one, doing his conservation stuff. And when you drive around town, there's some old wooden signs. Actually, there's one when you leave right by the entranceway to come in here that says it's Brooks-Tilden Shipyard. He's all hand carved. He put them up high enough in the trees so no one else could get them. He'd drive around in this big van with a canoe on it and sometimes a ladder on it. And he was like a one-man show. So he had the river, the property, and he wanted to have a canoe launch. So back then it would be a canoe launch and not a kayak launch. Warren hand dug that area. Most impressive, you know, put that little railing on, but this was all hand cut and dug by him. And as far as I know, he always complained about it, but he was the one that did it. And it's a great river to paddle on, as long as you follow the tides. And by experience, one time we didn't care about the tide, so we fought it on the way out and we fought it on the way back. And then forever we would always look at the tide charts the next time. This leads you out, you know, to the expressway. So that's what you're looking to when you're going, going in town. Looking at the river there. Down here also is Blueberry Island and Couch Beach, great places to camp or picnic, that sort of stuff. So before the bridge was here, there was nothing. So they had, well, we'll talk about that maybe first. So yeah, there was nothing here. So they had to build a ferry, or they had a couple of ferries, Bis, Bees, and Oakman Ferry. Around 1644 they operated, so that's how you got from one side of the river to the other. Someone came up with a good idea that they should build a bridge. So 1801 they built a bridge, and it was a toll bridge, and they collected tolls so they could pay off the debt for the bridge, the cost of the bridge. And back in was 1850, they had collected enough monies for the tolls so they could pay off the debt, and they had a little Jubilee celebration. So no tolls. So this whole area here was a lot of shipbuilding, and from 1650 to 1870 vessels were built here. If we were on a boat, we could go along the river, and there were historic markers at the end of properties, and we'll tell you, all these bronze markers, they'll tell you what shipyard it was, how many tonnage of ships that were built and sailed out of here, and where they went. These boats went all over the world. They were part of the China trade, and they continued. Let's see, the peak was 1799 to 1804. 115 vessels were built and set out, and that was pretty much the end. It went on the downside after that because they needed larger ships, and we didn't have not we, but the river wasn't big enough to handle what they were looking for. So
did they all cut down the trees from this area?
Yeah. So the neat thing is that you started with the shipbuilding, and a lot of white pine that they used, and they would clear coming from the water up here, clear it. When the shipbuilding went bust, it was over, it was time for farming. They had the fields, they had all this open space now, field, and they would do that. And then they would take, when you see the stone walls around town, or around here, or the other site we'll visit, it's like, where did they come from? They came from people that wanted to have farms, because the shipbuilding was done. We had to change our whole economic base, and they were, and they'd move them. They did move them as far as they can, and they were property dividers. They were fences for animals, and good fences, good neighbors. And the more that they moved the stone, the greater the area was for farming. So that they did all that, and this is all going to be, second growth coming through, and it's amazing how those they turn. So the Wampanoag Canoe Passage is about a 70-mile paddle canoe. You start at Union Street or North River, or you can end there, and then it'll go down to the Dighton State Park down in Fall River. And there's a Boy Scout leader in Norwell who used to bring his troops down there, and they would paddle 5, 6, 7 days to make it from one end to the other. And we've had a couple of folks from the watershed have done it have paddled it as a fundraiser for the watershed. So that's pretty cool. It's lots of little portages to get the canoe out of the river and across the dam, and then back onto the river again. And it's some areas it's kind of really heavy thickets to cut through, and other areas it's nice and open. But it's I've paddled parts of it, and very nice, very exciting to be. I certainly haven't done the whole thing yet. At some point, we have different trail markers. The red is for the main trail. So if you're on any of the town of Marshfield trails in town, the red one is always the main one. So if you ever became lost someplace, you're walking on it and like, we're not going there, or I'm not really sure, I'm confused. If you turn around, the red trail doesn't get you one way, it's gonna get you the other way, back to where you started. And then different colors for different trail spurs, and they don't really have a significance other than it's a blue trail, a yellow trail, an orange trail, and you'd follow that. But there are a lot of different groups use different markers. Some will spray paint, some will put plastic ones up, and these have worked for us. You know, there's not like one set that you need that everyone follows. They're all different ones. So this bench, there was a bench here before that was a black locust. It was here in 1993. Bruce Lenehan carved it, and you might know more about it, I don't know, than I do on it. But it was the black locust was in the Nelson forest, which we'll visit today. And at the time, the Forestry Foundation, they used to do different, they'd have horses there, draft horses, take down trees. There, a lot of old like woodsman days and some walks that they'd sponsor. There was an entrance on Highland Street, but that's such close, so we have this little one up here. In any event, they wanted a bench. The bench came from that forest. They used draft horses to bring it out. They put it in the back of Bruce Lenehan's truck. They pushed a little too far, and it went through the windshield. And Bruce was a craftsman. He went up to Hanover, and he carved it out. It was here for 40-something years, and this is the black locust that stood right in this area. And so we found this, Rosie, through Liz. Not Liz Valancourt, but Conservation Liz, who works with us. This is, so we had this letter from Warren Harrington, January 1993, talking about the bench coming here, how we liked it, the stuff that Bruce did with it, and it was very cool. So we had an idea, and this is Dan Jones. He was the first president, chair, what would you call it?
President of the Watershed Association.
Yeah. So he started it all. So we found this stuff here. The reason that we found this is because there was so the bench was here. There was a woman, Terry Johnson, who was ended up calling conservation in Marshfield. She had called a bunch of different towns along the river here because a friend of theirs, Rich Sullivan, had passed away. Rich and his kids and his wife spent a lot of time on the North River, and they're fishing, canoeing, kayaking, swimming, all this sort of stuff. He passed away cancer, and they wanted to do something to commemorate. And Terry Johnson had called a bunch of towns. No one returned her phone call. She called Marshfield Conservation. Liz came down. I also work in the clerk's office a few days a week. She said, she gave me a sticky, said, you need to call this woman today. I'm like, all right, not sure why, but so I called her, and she was like, you called me back. I said, yes. I said, you called, you gave a note to Liz. Liz said that I needed to call you, so that's why I'm calling you. And she said it like 2 times, you know, you called me back. evidently I was the only person out of all the towns that she called that called her back. And so we talked about what they wanted to do for their friend Rich, and we came down, we ended up looking at a couple of the areas. This one seemed to work out really well, and we the friends, it was the group had a name, it was Friends of Richard Sullivan. They wanted to donate a bench in honor of their friend. So we spec'd out a bench. They were going to install it, clean up the area, all this. In the meantime, Liz had found that information about the previous bench, and I, shoot, you know, I can't take one down without talking to the other people. So I got in touch with Deb Lenahan, who I knew through a couple other friends, and relayed the story. She told me a little bit more about the bench that was there, and we talked about the bench that is going to go there, or, you know, if it was all right. And because we felt that it was important to ask, you know, instead of just plowing through. And so we had a good first history of it. Now we have a really good second history of the bench. And it just has a beautiful area out here that when it's high tide, boats are going through, or you know, when it's really the summer and it's warmer, it's just a nice area to sit and think and relax. So so it all worked, you know, and that was, I started working with them in 2023, and then in Thanksgiving weekend, they put the bench in. All the materials arrived, and about 5 or 6 guys come in and do it, and it was set, and they gave me a call afterwards, and so now people can come out here and use it and enjoy it, and whether it's, you know, 1 or 2 people by themselves or a group of people like this, that we're doing it. So it's a little history. So here we are. We have a kiosk that's waiting for a panel. We just finished up one at the St. Christine's Church, and that panel is going in for production. And the panels were all similar. They'll have a map of the area. They'll have some history, some natural history of the area. Doing some research with Keys of Bacon and Historical Commission to look at it. The high school builds these for us, and the neat thing is they call it, I never get it right, it's Mortis and Tennyson, or Tennyson and, they build it without any nails. So if you show what they have, like here, they're all pegs, no screws or nails on them. This little box here is a part of a geocache. Geocache is, for those that don't know, it's kind of like hide and seek. You hide something and people get the coordinates and they like to find it, and then if it's a big box like that, sometimes they'll open it up, write a note in there, or they'll take something out and put something in. And people go all over to find those. And if you could go to Geocache in Marshfield, they'll show you where all the listed ones are. And it's amazing. People do that whole thing. So this is one of the boardwalks that the high school built. Fortunately for them, so the boardwalk had been for a long time, and it's just worn out. And we would try to drill, into dust, trying to put the screws in, and just wasn't working. So we reached out to Tom. They had built they built the kiosks for us. They built the trail benches for us. They hadn't built one of these. So we have our red markers, red trail marker up, and we try to put them like when we drive on the right hand side of the road. As much as we can, we'll put, as we're going out on the path, it will be on the right hand side. So when we return, there should be one on the right hand side as well. It doesn't always work like that, but that's the goal. And we have them up a little bit higher, so wandering people don't pull them off and take them home with them as souvenirs. And when we pound them in, or when Mike pounds it in, he doesn't push the nail all the way in, so that way he can allow for the tree growth on it, so it doesn't stick in. Yeah. So if we were all very tired because we've been working really hard today, we'd all take a sit on the bench. So high school was very proud that they built it and transported it. And this is our prototype going forward. Our trail benches will look like this. So this is what the kids had to carry from the parking lot to here. And some of them they had a wheelbarrow, and they were putting on the wheelbarrow, put straps around it. Others just, had a group and they picked it up and carried it down here. But in the springtime or after heavy rain, you'll see a nice flow through the stream right there. Everything's kind of quiet right now, but that's a good place. The first time I came down here, so this is at the end of the trail, Mary in the Woods, and they make a donation. So you put an ornament here, and there's a donation made. There's like 5 groups or 4 groups that they give them to. And let's see if I can make this happen. So there's ornaments that they put up.
I've seen that somewhere else too.
And so people come and look at them. So this is the official end. You guys are all on the Marshfield trails. Mike and I are all in Nelson Memorial Forest, non-Marshfield trail. And you can see by the sign, the most recent harvest was 2002. There's a bunch of stone walls, like this one right here, and it provides a nice corridor along the North River. So back in 1872, Henry Nelson purchased, this was called the Rogers Farm, and it was about 200 acres that they bought, and they had horses, cattle, chickens, all the farming stuff, and they employed, which I think is pretty cool, 50 full-time employees managing the farm. And they had a greenhouse there, and they have this strawberry called Marshall strawberry. And I guess back then, you know more? Fill us in.
No, I don't know.
Oh, come on. You sound like yes.
No. Somebody cultivated themselves and lived in Marshfield.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's a special Marshfield strawberry. And so over time, the property was passed down, and this Catherine Nelson had it. And 1958, she donated most of the property to the New England Forestry Foundation, and they could do their stuff. So if you can just, think that back in that time period, this whole area was all farming. The trees, had been gone for the shipbuilding, and now it was stone walls and greenhouses, and they had an apple orchard along the river. So it was quite the area.
That'll bring you down to actually through some of these yards into the North River.
Yeah, it used to bring you down to the river, but now it just brings you down the houses. And we walked at one time. Oh yeah, the ferries. I forgot about those.